So there comes a point in every failing relationship where they sit you down and they say, you know, I have to be honest with you. And this whole time you're thinking to yourself, wait, what? Have you not been honest with me before? And you're like, no, I've been living a lie. That's where we are right now. Federal Chair Jerome Powell just gave his talk. They announced a rate cut, and they're now finally telling the truth about what's going on in the markets, and particularly that Trump is going to screw you. Let's look at some headlines and let's just jump right in. So, this is what we're looking at today. Dow tanks 1,100 points, posts first 10-day losing streak since 1974. Was this like since 50 years we haven't had a drop like this? And basically, Federal Chair Jerome Powell came out and said, Trump is going to screw you. Looks like inflation is going to go up. Looks like you're all going to lose jobs. Looks like growth's not going to be so great. And we don't know what to do. This is how the market reacted here. You guys can see this. Pretty much everything was red. We had a little bit of green in the healthcare stocks. Your big bubble stock, Tesla, was down 8% today. There's probably a lot of Tesla fanboys and fangirls out there who are crying. We've been trying to warn them, but it is what it is. You also got this headline here. Stocks fall hard after Fed decision. This can't be good. We also have Fed Powell says future cuts would require fresh inflation progress. Essentially, I guess the markets, Fed, they're like, okay, you know what? We're going to cut 4 times next year. Their current projection is actually only 2 times next year of cuts. And who knows, that might even be off the table as we get into more inflation data coming in from Trump's policies next year. And regarding that, what's really interesting, this whole time before the election, they're like, oh, we're not going to comment on policy. We're not going to talk about that. Election's over. And now they're basically saying Trump's going to screw you with his policies. Inflation's going to go up. We also got this. Fed signals plan to slow rate cuts after quarter-point reduction. You guys can see where we are. And you got this. Stocks fall hard after Fed decision. And Fed signals intent to slow interest rate cuts after proving quarter rate reduction. There was a really interesting thing that he said, and it was probably my favorite quote of the whole thing. And I'll read it here. It says, the Fed is entering a dark room full of furniture. And the full quote is, it's common sense thinking that when the path is uncertain, and this is from Fed Chair Jerome Powell, my favorite quote, you go a little bit slower, right? Path is uncertain, you go a little bit slower. It's not unlike driving on a foggy night or walking into a dark room full of furniture. You just slow down. Again, this is Federal Chair Jerome Powell describing our situation. We're driving on a foggy night or walking into a dark room full of furniture, meaning that we better go slow because there could be anything that could just pop out and hurt us. Essentially, what's going on is they're projecting that most of the risk next year is for inflation to the upside. I think they're thinking inflation's maybe around 2.5, 2.7, but who knows? I mean, it could go higher. That's what they're saying. The risk is more to the upside. And essentially, looking like January, they're not going to cut it all. So we're already talking about this. I mean, the cuts are off the table at this point. And it's essentially, they're saying, this is the markets here, 91% chance that they'll hold in January. And this is basically freaking out markets. Now, what's interesting is kind of people beginning, how can I say, used to, expecting cuts here, cuts there. This is all around the world. I'm just showing you guys this, give a global perspective. Most of the central banks have been cutting as of late, but that party could be ending. Here's the dot plot, if you want to take a look at this, and the sort of the projections going forward. Again, right now, projections penciled in 2 cuts for next year. And that could change. So it's hard to say. And this is like projecting out to 2027. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is also interesting. I've seen him in many of these things. To me, this one actually, he came across as more, how can I say, like he had his glasses, like, well, he always has glasses, but he like really had his glasses, and he brought a whole bunch of like books and data with him. And he was like kind of sharing more stuff about the policies and projections going forward. In prior sort of Q&As, they'd ask him questions of like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he would just like dodge. He's like, he'd be like the Matrix, right? They'd be throwing so many questions and he just kind of wouldn't answer, etc. This time, man, I'm telling you guys, he was actually really talking about that Trump policy is going to screw us. The other stuff that you can see here as well, if you want to look at some possible projections, it's a different way, same chart to look at it. Maybe neutral rate in 2027 will be 3%. I mean, but that's so far down the line. And I'll give it to Powell on that one. He said the same thing. I mean, it's when you're asking questions 2 and 3 years out, who knows? They also ask him about, how are Americans feeling, these kind of things. He actually mentioned it very clearly. Housing and insurance on your housing is actually really expensive. And, the Fed, it's hard for them to, control that kind of stuff. They also can't control, global wars around the world. They can't control everything. But, they do make projections, basically like what's going on in policy and also to the risk around the world. There could be upticks in, say, food or energy. He can't control that kind of stuff at all, which we'll get into. And it reminded me that we'll get into that there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on at the moment. What's our government doing, and how are we looking forward to Trumpy coming into office with his buddy Muskie? So this is what Musk is doing today. He's actually trying to get a bunch of people on his side to not pass anything. So Elon Musk, he says, the more I learn, the more obvious it becomes that this spending bill is a crime. That's coming from Elon Musk. They're trying to pass a spending bill so the government doesn't shut down. It says here, it even includes funding for the worst illegal censorship operation in the entire government. This is the stuff he also sees. He has his fanboys and fangirls tweeting out stuff. Kill Bill. They got pictures of him, chopping up the bill, etc. He likes to retweet out stuff like he's threatening, any politician that votes for the spending bill. He'll, fund his opponents, that kind of stuff. And he's actually been doing that quite a bit because he does, he has power of the purse to fund your opponents and try to shut you down that way. And this is actually interesting as well. He's even got his Tesla fan club coming on politics, which is kind of ridiculous. These people, guys, I get it. If you like to drive your car around and you like to put wraps on your car and you like to put, cool speakers in your car, you like cars, right? But suddenly, Elon Musk turns like full bore Republicans conspiracy theorists, and suddenly now you like Republicans and conspiracy theories. And you live in Silicon Valley and you're a California person who likes electric cars. Like, it doesn't really match up. But I remember a lot of these people are paid to say these things, and that's why it's always laughable. They say here, what a scam. This is one of his, Tesla stock promoters. And this little superheroes line thing, there's like a group of these people. They all have like this scammy finance thing. They say here, imagine getting 19 hours to review this contract and signing it. What a scam. And basically they're complaining that they have to read. These people can't read. Then you got, Vivek and Musk. They're trying to, again, discern discontent. And who knows, we might be facing government shutdowns. We're finally getting truth from the Fed that Trump's going to screw you with his policies. And then we got this, and this is what I said, we'll get into more stuff. The bird flu might actually be a thing. Let's just say this. I've seen this movie before, talking about COVID, and it's not fun. Let's not go down that road. Let's hope it's not anything serious like that. But I mean, at this stage, who knows? But this is the headline. U.S. reports first severe human case of bird flu in a patient hospitalized in Louisiana. And I guess there's been multiple states that have been bird flu this year. If you guys are in the USA, let me know. Or if you're in the UK, let me know. Or Australia, or wherever you are out there in the world, let me know if bird flu has been a thing in your neck of the woods. Maybe Canada has. I don't know. From my knowledge, I'm here in Korea. I don't think we've had any human cases of bird flu. I just, it would probably be on the news. I would have saw it. I mean, this is just happening in USA now. And then California, I guess they're declaring state of emergency. This was just like a few minutes ago. I'm like, what the heck? And then we got a possible government shutdown. That's the news. If you want to know more about markets, Fed, these kind of stuff, here's the challenge for them. They think, okay, if we cut rates, what is that going to do? That's probably going to try. That's the goal. It's probably going to try to spur growth. That's the thing that they want to do. But if inflation is a real risk, we don't want to cut too much, right? Now, on the other side, the Fed, they want to make sure that everyone has a job. And so the idea is that if we cut rates, it encourages more spending, encourages more borrowing, get that flow going, and people be hiring. And there is a situation where, essentially, let's say they decide to hold, and they can't really, do either, because like they're worried about, okay, if I cut too much, you got too much inflation. If I raise too much, you got a bunch of people going to get fired, etc. I think we're in a real bind, and The problem is again, I want to make this really clear. It's not just the Fed. They can't control everything, right? You also have the Trumpers, who essentially just want everything to burn. That's what it feels like to me. And then you got Musk like promoting all these people who are basically, going to inspire them. Hey, call your congressperson, tell them not to pass anything. It's like, oh, great. And guys, and I'll be honest with you. I don't disagree that we can have, conversations about maybe we should cut some things, maybe we should raise some things, etc. The problem that I have with our whole sort of like the musky, Trumpy world is it's like it's so tunnel vision and stuff like that. They never talk about, hey, maybe we should like raise taxes sometimes, right? It's not like in their world, just like cut as much as you possibly can because I'm rich and I don't want to pay taxes and I don't depend on Social Security. I don't need that. Cut that. I don't need that. I don't need VA benefits. Cut that. I don't need that. Right? I don't need schools. Cut that. I don't need those. Like they're kind of in this world of just like cut everything for all the people, like basically the 99% of us who need these kind of things. And then you got this, global situation. So I want to make sure it's clear. It's not just the USA where you have slowdowns everywhere, and it is really a problem that we face. And that's sort of why I've been telling you guys before. We're like, it's nuts that the market, has been going up like crazy the last month or so. Yet it's all based on hype and bubbles. Like it's based on vaporware of your quantum computing over at Google, or your vaporware of your, Tesla's going to have humanoid robots, right? Just like the movies. And essentially what this is like they're selling you stuff to people who don't understand anything. So basically Musk is like, hey guys, did you see that movie Blade Runner, or did you see that movie I Am Robot, or did you see that movie Total Recall? And like, why am I mentioning movies? Like, well, Total Recall, hey, we can go to Mars, and it's gonna be awesome there, and we're gonna find some alien relics, and oxygen will be everywhere, yeah. and, Blade Runner, we're gonna make humans, and it's gonna work like crazy, and they're gonna human robots are gonna do all the work, and we're gonna send the couches, and it'll be just like the good old days of the plantation of apartheid, and just be laying around and let all those workers do that stuff for you, and it's just like pipe dreams and fantasies. And unfortunately, a lot of people get sucked into this stuff because why do they fall for it? It's because they're desperate, right? And I want to make that really clear. I totally understand a lot of people out there are struggling. I completely understand that. The problem is that they're essentially picking leaders and stuff like that don't understand that. Picking leaders and stuff like that who are born rich and that don't understand your problems. And so it is always a frustrating thing. And that's sort of why, we go back to like, and I told you before in the beginning of this, show today, was that Federal Chair Jerome Powell wouldn't tell you the truth about Trump's policies, even though we can all see it coming. And then today he finally tells you the truth. Okay, Trump's going to cause massive inflation. You're going to have slowdowns. Everything's going to be pretty awful. Now, the other thing that's kind of funny, though, to refer to Federal Chair Jerome Powell and the Fed, they always try to like make it seem not as bad. Like they tell you the truth of like, okay, Trump's going to cause inflation, but maybe it won't be so bad inflation. And so he always tries to temper it in that way and say, but things are going to be really good because we're American, we're always strong. I have a lot more doubts, and the market is certainly doubting as well. That's why we're seeing these major pullbacks today. I think it's going to be scary going into 2025. And again, much of the hype of what's pushing stocks up, etc., has just been a bunch of vaporware and like bubble assets in your doggy coins and stuff like that. So that's my thoughts of what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts, and be safe out there. And I'll catch you on the next video.